everybody, and welcome to the weekly scopes from the 23rd to the 29th of November. So, I hope you guys are okay. I'm Amani, your astrological life coach, and I'm going to break down this week's main aspects as well as the daily aspects that are influencing every day. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I, formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic Constellational Astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic Constellational Astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs, the Western signs, shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees, 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain what parallels and contra parallels are in astrology, because I use them in my chart interpretation. So Declination in astrology is the measure of how far a celestial body is, such as the sun, whether it's either north or south of the celestial equator. And the celestial equator is an imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, which us astrologers use in our interpretation. So parallels happen when two planets are on the same declination, either both planets are on the north side or either both planets are on the south side, and this alignment increases the influence of the involved planets. So it's similar to a conjunction aspect, as it amplifies their energy, making the effects of the planets more pronounced. Contraparallels, on the other hand, happen when two planets are on the same declination, but one is in the north and one is in the south. So this alignment creates tension, which is similar to an opposition aspect, and it can lead to conflict, challenges and inner struggles between the energies of the planets involved. So contraparallels highlight areas of friction or contrast in our lives, urging us to find balance between the opposing forces at play. When transiting parallels and contraparallels happen, they can sort of trigger significant events, shifting consciousness and periods of intense growth and transformation. So I look at these aspects closely during chart analysis to understand how planetary energies interact and influence each other during a specific time frame, to pinpoint key periods for personal development, relationship dynamics or career shifts and other shifts like karmic shifts and stuff like that. Because I just find using contraparallels and parallels gives me more depth in interpretation, so I use them. So contraparallels and parallels in astrology serve as markers for potential challenges or breakthroughs, guiding us towards more self-awareness, love, acceptance, understanding, forgiveness for ourselves and others, and shifts in consciousness and growth. So overall, just a shift in our mindset if we allow for it. So parallels and contraparallels just kind of provide valuable insights into the complexities and nuances of the astrological interactions between planetary movements. So yeah, that's the end of what contraparallels and parallels are. So first we've got Mercury making a parallel to Venus. This is the same energies like a conjunction, and this is exact on the 23rd of November at 10:09, leaves on the 26th of November and entered on the 21st, and Mercury is in Libra, still retrograde. It was in Scorpio, then it's moved to Libra now, and Venus is in Libra as well. Mars makes a parallel to Pluto, and Mars is in Scorpio and Pluto is in Capricorn, and this entered on the 10th of November, is exact on the 27th of November at 3:29 p.m. So this is also exact on the 7th of January again at 3:38 p.m. until when it leaves us on the 23rd of January 2026 at 6:30 p.m. So nice long energy, so pay attention when I speak about this energy and how you can use it over the next few months, right? The Sun also is making a contraparallel to Jupiter. This works like an opposition energy, opposing, going against the flow, and the Sun's in Scorpio and Jupiter is in Cancer, and this enters on the 18th of November. It's exact at 3:30 a.m. on the 28th of November, also exact on the 8th of January 2026 at 7:33, and leaves us on the 19th of January. So another aspect taking us through, the end of November, December, January. So the tagline, the theme of this week is harmonious connections meet transformative power. So I'm going to explain what all that means now. So this week brings a mix of diplomatic, harmony, working with others, compromise, and deep and meaningful transformation. Mercury is parallel to Venus, the planet of communication, aligns with, Venus, the planet of values and relationships, and at the highest expression self-love, right? And this creates the energy for us to work this week with social grace, trying to be in harmony with others rather than against, even though we've got differences and different perspectives, different lifestyles, thinking how can we meet in the middle and hear everybody's point of view with active listening, still respecting our boundaries, but having more of an open mind so we can have balanced communication. So, this week, this energy allows us to have some harmony in our relationships and be creative as well as having those diplomatic conversations to resolve conflicts as well, and finding common ground, resolving conflicts, finding common ground is like the main theme of this week, what we should do with this energy. But then we've got Mars paralleling Pluto, so that's if it was ideal, but Pluto's in the midst. So this is the planet Mars of action aligning with the planet of transformation, Pluto, and this brings intense focus and transformative power, allowing for deep and meaningful personal reinvention. And the best use of this energy is to channel it towards deep, lasting change rather than superficial changes. And the Sun's contraparallel to Jupiter, the Sun being our core identity, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion, higher learning, and the Sun also represents at the highest the direction we're meant to take our energy this lifetime as well. So with the Sun in Scorpio and Jupiter in Cancer, so we've got fixed water and cardinal water energy. It challenges us to balance focus, self-expression with compassionate understanding of others' needs as well as our own needs, right? So in terms of the dominant energies this week, we've got positively, this week's energies allow us to have exceptional diplomatic skills in communication positively. We can kind of resolve relationship tensions. It gives us the ability to focus on our changes and personal development work. Strategic energy, we can apply this energy, use this energy to meet our long-term goals, to set them, to continue working towards them, to begin them right. We can have the courage to confront deep psychological patterns. We can have more of a balanced perspective this week between personal and collective needs. We can have peaceful negotiation of complex social situations. We can have deep and meaningful insights into relationship dynamics, what's working, what's not. We can really, channel those, use those intense emotions more positively, like in artwork and anything else creative. And we can just align our actions and words with our core values and authentic self-expression. But negatively, we can avoid conflicts because of seeking harmony and people please and stuff. And conflict's not nice. I don't really like them, but sometimes we need to have them to grow and to resolve things, and a lot of the time truth can come out more in conflict than in harmony, right? We can have a difficulty respecting and asserting our boundaries and authentic needs in relationships. There can be powerful interpersonal power struggles in professional settings like at work. We can just feel overwhelmed from this intense emotional energy too. There can be tension between our personal desires and others' expectations. We can manipulate others or be manipulated in communication. There can be internal conflict between transformation and stability. We can have resistance to necessary changes in belief systems. We can have impatience with gradual transformation processes, wanting to, everything to speed up, but, it's important to take your time if you want changes to last. A lot of the times we rush and make changes to last for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but we give up. So slow and steady change is what brings long-term transformation in our actions, right? And we can just feel too emotionally emotionally, psychologically and spiritually exhausted from deep psychological work this week as well. So now I'm just going to talk about a bit more about how to deal with this week's energy. So when Mercury's Venus parallel is exact on Sunday night, this is ideal conditions for relationship repair and, peaceful communication. You can use Monday and Tuesday for important conversations, negotiations and creative teamwork, because both planets are in Libra, focus on fair exchanges and mutual benefit rather than demands. And of course Venus rules Libra, right? And Wednesday and Thursday, as we move into Mars Pluto energy, things can get a bit more intense midweek, and it's best to use this energy for strategic transformation rather than power struggles. So we can ask ourselves this week, what routines, structures, habits need reinvention? What personal power have you been avoiding claiming, or where have you been abusing your power and controlling others? Really opening up to that deep and meaningful personal alchemy energy of Mars and Pluto that allows us to change things, right? And as we move into Friday, Sun and Jupiter energy taking us into the weekend, right? This brings tension between our personal needs and wider responsibilities, so it challenges us to express our authentic self while considering how our actions affect our emotional foundation and close relationships. And to resolve this tension between our personal needs, which is represented by the Sun in Scorpio, and the wider needs, right, represented by Jupiter in Cancer, we can find the middle path that honours everybody's needs. Well, ideally we can try to do that, right? So now I'm just going to talk about how to practically use this week's energy in business and our relationships and stuff like that as well. So in terms of career and business, use it to resolve workplace conflicts through diplomatic discussion, initiate transformative changes to work systems and protocols, balance assertive leadership with emotional intelligence, and present innovative ideas with both logic and aesthetic appeal, and restructure teams or projects for greater efficiency. In terms of relationships, it's good to schedule relationship check-ins using active listening techniques, courageously discuss intimacy or vulnerability barriers midweek, create new relationship rituals that honour both partners' growth, express desires clearly while respecting your partner's perspective, transform conflict patterns through mutual understanding, So in terms of personal growth, you can ask yourself what power dynamics operate within your psyche and what transformations scare you as you go down into, the week. And it's a great week in terms of personal growth for mindful communication with yourself and others, create art that expresses your emotions, start a transformative habit with disciplined commitment, examine how childhood patterns influence current power struggles, align actions with your most authentic values. So in terms of the best weekly actions overall, you can initiate healing conversations and resolve conflicts using I feel statements and active listening rather than accusing people, right? Create relationship harmony rituals that nourish connections, channel intensity strategically, and direct Mars Pluto energy towards one transformative goal. Courageously examine power dynamics and identify where you give away or misuse your personal power. Balance self-expression with compassion. Honour your truth while considering others' feelings. Transform one limiting habit at a time. Choose a behaviour to reinvent with disciplined focus. Express appreciation generously. Verbally acknowledge what you value in others and be open to others doing the same to you. Align actions with core values. Make sure your daily choices reflect your authentic beliefs and principles. Create beauty in your environment, arrange spaces to inspire harmony and creativity, and set boundaries, protect your energy with clarity and kindness. So in terms of the combined meanings, the Mercury-Venus energy highlights our need for connection, while Mars-Pluto exposes our fear of vulnerability in claiming our power. The Sun-Jupiter tension mirrors the core psychological conflict between individual expression and collective belonging this week. And ultimately, this is a week of integrating our sense of collective belonging with our individual expression, being authentic and meeting our needs as well as others, so we can just be more healthy. In terms of karmically, this week we're confronted with relationship patterns across lifetimes. Mercury-Venus may resolve old harmony-seeking karma, people-pleasing, and Mars-Pluto energy transforms power-related patterns. The Sun-Jupiter energy this week challenges us to balance personal destiny with collective responsibility, and past life patterns of suppressing or repressing, pushing down, our need to express our personal power or overusing our personal power in a dominated way may surface for healing. Spiritually, it brings alignment between our human experience and soul evolution, our growth. And Mercury-Venus energy represents the sacred union within. Mars-Pluto, supports soul lover transformation, and Sun-Jupiter energy expands our consciousness about our place in the universe. So we are invited to express our divine essence through both harmonious connection and courageous authenticity on the spiritual esoteric level, right? So in terms of integrating this energy, it's all about, understanding that true harmony comes from authentic expression rather than repressing our real needs and real selves, right? And we can learn from Mercury's Venus and Mars Pluto's energy that we can deepen our relationships with ourselves and others when we courageously sow our depths rather than maintaining pleasant surfaces, and we are reminded that our personal light shines brightest when balanced with more compassionate awareness of our own and others' journeys, right? So in terms of self-reflection questions this week to really ask yourself over this week is, you can ask, where do I sacrifice authenticity for harmony, and what could change if I stopped? What personal power have I been avoiding claiming, and what scares me about it? You can ask, how can I honour both my truth and others' feelings in challenging situations, right? So now I'm going to talk about the weekly zodiac guidance for all 12 sun, moon and rising signs, right? So Aries, Mercury's Venus parallel in your partnership house brings opportunities to smooth over recent relationship tensions through diplomatic conversation. Use your natural directness constructively by expressing appreciation before confronting concerns, right? And Mars-Pluto energy activates your transformation zone, making this an excellent time to deal with deep psychological work, starting or continuing it, right? And the Sun-Jupiter tension reminds you to balance your, pioneering, initiating, wanting to start things like energy with consideration for the needs of your family and other things that you're responsible for in your life, like your commitments to any employees or any business you may have and so on, yeah? Taurus, the Mercury-Venus energy in your work sector creates harmony in professional relationships and can bring creative opportunities into your career. Your natural aesthetic sense is particularly valued this week, so don't hesitate to contribute in creative solutions. The Mars-Pluto aspect transforms your belief system, so be open to changing long-held opinions and beliefs based on new evidence. The Sun-Jupiter tension challenges you to expand beyond your comfort zone while, maintaining your core values. Gemini, with Mercury and Venus highlighting your creative and romantic sector, this is a brilliant week for expressing yourself through art, writing, or deep, heartfelt communication with loved ones. Your words carry more weight and extra charm and persuasive power, making it ideal for presentations or romantic like, declarations. Mars Pluto in your intimate zone may bring intense conversations about shared resources or psychological boundaries. Balance your natural curiosity with respect for other people's privacy. This Friday, Cancer, the Mercury-Venus alignment in your home sector creates beautiful opportunities for family harmony and domestic improvements. This is a perfect time for redecorating, hosting gatherings, or having meaningful conversations with relatives. Mars's opposition to Pluto demands you to confront relationship power dynamics head on. Avoid passive aggressive tactics in favour of direct, compassionate communication. Jupiter's influence reminds you that nurturing others shouldn't come at the expense of your own growth rate. Leo, Mercury Venus in your communication sector makes you particularly charismatic and persuasive this week. Use this gift to mend fences, collaborate on creative projects, or launch social media campaigns. The Mars Pluto aspect in your work zone supports major career transformations. Don't be afraid to restructure your professional approach or tackle challenging projects. Friday's tension asks you to balance your need for recognition with genuine service to others. Virgo, this week's Mercury-Venus alignment brings harmony to your financial sector, right? So it makes it an excellent time for negotiations, investments, or discussions about shared resources. Your practical approach to money matters is especially appreciated by others now. Mars-Pluto energy in your Venture zone pushes you towards transformative learning experiences or spiritual practices, and the Sun-Jupiter energy reminds you to balance analytical thinking with intuitive wisdom. Libra, with Mercury and Venus conjunct in your sign, both in Libra, your ruler is Venus, right? You're absolutely can be magnetic. You can draw things to you this week. It's a very draw things rather than you going out there and pushing things, allow things to come to you. Use this power responsibly in all your relationships. It's a time to sign in social situations, create beautiful things, or launch projects that require aesthetic appeal. Mars Pluto in your depth sector brings opportunities for profound psychological transformation through shadow work or therapeutic practices. Balance your people-pleasing tendencies with authentic self-expression as the week progresses. Scorpio, Mercury and Venus in your mystery sector encourages private conversations and behind-the-scenes relationship work. Trust your intuition about what needs to be said and unsaid in delicate situations. The Mars-Pluto alignment in your partnership zone creates powerful relationship dynamics. Use this energy for mutual transformation rather than power struggles. And with the Sun in your sign opposing Jupiter, avoid the temptation to overwhelm others with your intensity. Sagittarius, the Mercury-Venus aspect lights up your friendship sector, making this week brilliant for networking, group activities, and collaborative creative projects. Your natural optimism is contagious and draws the right people to you. Mars and Pluto in your work zone supports major professional restructuring or taking on leadership roles that demand strategic thinking. Balance your expansive nature with attention to practical details this Friday. Capricorn, the Mercury-Venus energy at the top of your chart brings recognition for your professional skills and may attract beneficial career opportunities through relationship connections. Present your expertise with grace and confidence. Mars Pluto in your creative sector provides intense focus for artistic creative projects or romantic plans that need a strategic approach, and the Sun Jupiter tension reminds you to balance ambitious goals with emotional intelligence. Aquarius, this week's Mercury Venus alignment expands your horizons through beautiful connections with people from different cultures or philosophical backgrounds. backgrounds. Your unique perspective is particularly valued in group discussions or educational settings. Mars-Pluto in your foundation sector supports major changes to your living situation or family dynamics. Friday's aspect challenges you to balance your humanitarian ideals with personal relationship needs. And Pisces, Mercury-Venus in your transformation sector brings grace to difficult conversations about shared resources, psychological healing or intimate boundaries, so you can find peaceful solutions to any issues there this week. Your natural empathy helps others feel safe to be vulnerable. The Mars-Pluto aspect in your communication zone gives power to your words. Use this influence wisely to inspire rather than manipulate. Balance your spiritual awareness with practical engagement in, worldly matters as the week ends. So in terms of weekly mantras, Aries, your mantra is I harmonize courage with consideration in all connections. Taurus, I transform resources through strategic grounded action. Gemini, my words create beauty while honoring my boundaries. Cancer, I express my depths with compassionate vulnerability. Leo, I channel creative passion into disciplined manifestation. Virgo, I nurture harmony while courageously confronting truths. Libra, I balance authentic expression with relationship grace. Scorpio, I transform my world through focus, personal power. Sagittarius, I expand my horizons while honouring my inner sanctuary. Capricorn, I revolutionize my structures, my routines with strategic focus. Aquarius, I innovate collectively while honouring individual voices. And Pisces, I transform spiritual practice into tangible, touchable devotion, right? So in terms of content creators this week, it's a week of creating content that balances aesthetic appeal with transformative depth. Early on the week, focus on content around finding harmony in relationships without falling into people pleasing, respecting your own and others' boundaries, communication skills and creative expression. Also, giving practical relationship advice with, visual appeal. So thinking about what videos you use on your content or how you present it. If you just do a podcast, but if you do a voice podcast and don't do video and stuff like that. The Mars-Pluto energy supports making brave content and being bold about breaking limited patterns, destructive relationships, claiming personal power. People can really crave authenticity, especially authentic vulnerability this week. So, sharing your journey of change while also maintaining your boundaries can be good. Also exploring content about balancing personal authenticity and needs with collective responsibility, discussing how individual growth serves the greater good, focusing on relationship depth rather than just surface level connections. Focus on quality over quantity through a post with genuine insight will outperform frequent shallow content. Be open to having working with others and having different discussions with your community that honour multiple beliefs and perspectives while also maintaining your authentic voice, right? So so now I'm just going to go through the day-to-day aspects that's happening over the next 7 days and how they influence this week's main energy, right? So on the 23rd of November, Pluto leaves out of bounds at 20 past midnight. Mercury enters Libra at 2:37 p.m. The Sun makes a sextile to Pluto at 7:20 and Mercury's parallel to Venus is exact at 10 past 10. So the Sun's sextile to Pluto lasts for a few days and the Sun's in Scorpio and Pluto's in Capricorn. So today is a day when harmony can be restored, and when Pluto leaves out of bound, positively intense, unpredictable energies that have been happening while Pluto has been out of bounds can, settle, relax a bit, making transformation more manageable. Negatively, we can feel a sudden drop in energy, adrenaline, and a sense of an anticlimax. The best use of this energy is to ground yourself and reflect on recent changes and stabilize your intentions. With Mercury in Libra, communications can become more diplomatic and fair, and relationship focused. Negatively, indecision or people pleasing can creep in, making it hard to take a stand. The best use of this energy is to seek harmony in conversations, negotiate and listen as much as you speak. The Sun's set star to Pluto can add to us feeling empowered to make deep lasting changes and face truths with courage, but negatively it can add to the power struggles and excessive thinking that can come up this week, especially if we resist change, right? The best use of this energy is to channel your willpower into positive change and be open to your inner strength. Ultimately, the sunset star Pluto gives us the guts, the power to transform what needs changing. Pluto coming back in bound stabilizes this energy, right? And karmically, when Mercury goes into Libra, it's a karmic lesson in communication, learning to speak your truth with kindness, to listen deeply and resolve all conflicts with fairness. It's a chance to heal relationship karma and create new patterns of harmony. In terms of past life dreams and visions, you may dream of old arguments, lost loves, or moments where your voice was silenced. These visions can offer clues about where you need to restore balance and heal and reclaim your right to be heard in this life. Collectively, when Mars enters Libra, there can be more of a push for fair negotiations, peace talks, and renewed focus of social harmony. But just remember, Mercury's still in retrograde for the next few days. Spiritually supports us, doing things like heart-centered meditations, practicing loving kindness to ourselves and others. Spiritual study with a partner or group is a time to connect with the higher wisdom of balance and beauty. In terms of personal development, you're invited to refine your communication style, practice active listening, and seek out win-win solutions. Personal growth comes from learning to compromise without losing your integrity. In terms of career and educational development, professional life can benefit from teamwork, negotiation, and creative collaboration. It's a good time to sign contracts, mediate disputes, or start a study group. In terms of the effect on relationships, in our family relationships, we can have more open, fair conversations and heal old wounds, and family meetings can go smoother. In friendships, we can deepen and strengthen our connection through honest discussion and shared interests. Co-workers can, focus on teamwork and avoid, conflict by avoiding gossip. Self-partnered, it's good to journal or self-talk. That brings clarity. Practice self-compassion. Hookup relationships, flirtation is easy, but be honest about your intentions. Esoterically, it's about aligning your words with your soul's desires for harmony and using language as a tool for healing. Bringing peace into your life. Psychologically, Jungian themes of the Amina, animus, balance, projection, and the search for the other are highlighted. Unconscious patterns of unfairness, justice, and self-expression can come to the surface for integration, right? So ultimately today you can thrive in this week really by seeking peace, expressing your truth, and using your power wisely. But it's very important to watch out for indecision or avoiding conflict, power struggles or excessive thinking, and being superficial in your life right now and feeling emotionally exposed, So the best use to counteract this is to practice self-care, active listening, channel willpower into positive change, mediate disputes, trying to find peaceful resolutions through negotiations, right? Express affection compassion and appreciation for yourself and others. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask, where do you avoid honest communication for the sake of peace, and how may speaking your truth today create a deeper harmony? Integrating this energy, you can practice a loving kindness meditation, focus on someone you need to forgive, write a letter, send it or don't send it, expressing your feelings to someone important. Try and resolve a misunderstanding as well. This can be a good use of today's energy. On the 24th of November, the moon enters its crescent moon phase at 9:25. Mercury makes a quincunx to Chiron at 12:04, and Mercury's in Libra and Chiron's in Pisces, and this leaves us in a few days. Mars makes a square to the moon's north node. This is exact at 1:32 today, PM that is, and Mars is in Scorpio and the North Node's in Aquarius. The moon enters void of course at 8:28. The moon also enters Capricorn at 10:57 as well. So the theme of today is healing, crossroads and destiny tensions. So the crescent moon triggers hope, motivation and the need to move forward with new intentions. Negatively, it can bring uncertainty or impatience if progress feels slow. The best use of this energy is to take small confident steps towards your goals. Trust the process. The moon void of course energy is good for winding down, reflecting and letting go of what's not working. It's not ideal for starting anything new, and the energy can just feel a bit scattered or flat. So if you feel like you shouldn't start anything new, then don't. It's best used to tie up loose ends, finish things. And the moon goes void of course about 2 or 3 times a week, so I'm going to mention that the moon goes void of course at least one time more during this. So it's the same for every moon void of course what to do, right? So the moon enters Capricorn, so this grounds emotions, it increases our discipline and helps us focus on practical matters. But negatively, we can feel emotionally distant and just feel a bit heavy and serious. This energy is best used to set realistic goals, organise your plans and take responsibility. Mercury makes a quincunx to Chiron, and this offers a chance to heal misunderstandings and gain insight into old wounds. Negatively, communication may feel awkward or trigger old insecurities. The best use of this energy is to practice compassionate listening and be gentle with yourself and others. Mars makes a square to the moon's north node, so this pushes us to take bold action towards our destiny and break free from stagnation, but negatively can stir up conflict, impulsiveness or resistance to change. The best use of this energy is to channel your drive into purposeful action and don't let frustration get in the way of your path. So you can feel today like a push and pull between your desires and soul path as well. It's about facing challenges head on and choosing growth over comfort today. Confronting old wounds around communication. In terms of Sabian wisdom, we've got Mercury and Chiron both activating the 30th Sabian degree with 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head for Mercury in Libra, and a majestic rock formation resembling a face is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness for Chiron in Pisces, right? And this points to wisdom that we can gain through experience and healing ourselves and being open to newness and following our ideals and insights and highest path, right? And with the Mars and the moon's north node at the 21st degree, so Mars is a soldier, derelict in duty, and that's Scorpio, right? Mars is in Scorpio, and the moon's north node in Aquarius at the 21st degree has the Sabian symbology, a disappointed woman who's disillusioned also. So this is all about taking responsibility and the courage to face lies and disillusionment head on, and that's ties into the main theme of this week, looking within ourselves, not being afraid fade of truth, right? It's about confronting where you strayed from your purpose and finding the strength to realign, right? So again, today's energy can add to the misunderstandings and frustrations with slow progress that can happen this week, and there can be a tension, it adds to the tension between our personal desires and soul purpose. The best use of this energy, is, and this week in general, is to practice compassionate communication and ground yourself with practical tasks, In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask yourself, where do you avoid difficult conversations or actions out of fear or discomfort, and how may facing them today help you heal and move forward? Integrating this energy, you can write down one old wound or regret, exploring how it shapes your choices. Practice active listening in a conversation that matters. Set a small achievable goal for the week and take the first small step towards reaching it today. On the 25th of November, Mercury makes a conjunction to Venus, and this is exact at 1:51 a.m. and that's for the next couple of days. Venus makes a quincunx to Chiron, and this is exact at 11:25 a.m. and that's for 3 days. So today is a day of deep and meaningful words and healing tensions in relationships. So Mercury's conjunction to Venus can sweeten communication, inspiring us to be more creative and supporting that. But negatively, we can be gloss over the deeper issues, and this can lead to superficial disagreements or just doing things to keep the peace as well. So again, watch out, because this adds to the people-pleasing energy of this week. Venus's quincunx to Chiron, helps us to heal old wounds this week and find compassion for ourselves and others, but it can add to the awkwardness and insecurity and the sense of not quite fitting in emotionally. The best use of this energy is to practice self-acceptance, forgive past hurts, and allow space for imperfect healing. Healing is a journey, right? And it's not something that we should want to perfect, but just keep on going and opening up those different layers, exposing those tender spots that still need healing and being open to healing them and realigning ourselves emotionally, spiritually and psychologically, right? Facing discomfort, because sometimes that's what healing means, getting outside of our comfort zone and confronting things that's been left unsaid, even though it can make us uncomfortable. It's about using your voice to heal and build bridges. Really, thinking about the importance of wisdom, legacy and the power of shared understanding and healing that comes from recognizing the wisdom and that can be gained through being open to healing, right? So ultimately, today we can do well when we speak from the heart, right? And allowing ourselves to be open to honest, compassionate communication and a willingness to confront that we've been, sweeping under the rug, avoiding. So, challenges today comes from, insecurity and sensitivity to criticism or rejection and the difficulty of letting go of the past, right? It's best used to reach out to repair or deepen important relationships, especially the one you should be having with yourself. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt for today, you can ask, where do you avoid honest expression for fear of rejection, and how may sharing your true feelings today bring healing and a deeper connection? Create something today in terms of integrating this energy that channels your emotions into beauty. On the 26th of November, Venus enters Scorpio at 5:52 a.m. Venus makes a trine to Jupiter, and this lasts for 3 days, and Venus is in Scorpio and Jupiter's in Cancer, right? And as I said, this is exact at 4:32, right? And Venus makes a trine to Saturn. This is exact at 11:48 p.m. today and leaves in the 3 days as well, and Saturn's in Pisces. So a lot of Venus energy this week. So a lot of energy allowing us to find that higher self-love, to appreciate the beauty of life or anything else we find beautiful this week. And Venus in Scorpio deepens our passion and loyalty and emotional intensity in relationships this week, positively, but negatively can add to the jealousy, possessiveness and hidden resentments. The best use of this energy is to be open to vulnerability and honest intimacy, right? And Venus is trying to Jupiter expands our love and generosity and brings lucky opportunities in romance and finance, right? But we can be tempted to overindulge or expect too much from others. Use this energy to celebrate your blessings, right? And share your abundance and open your heart. Venus is trying to Saturn strengthens our commitment and brings stability to love and money and rewards patience, but negatively it can add to the seriousness or highlight where we feel lost, so we can avoid changing those deep and meaningful conversations that we need to do. The best use of this energy is to build lasting relationships or repair them, make wise investments and honour your values. Because today's energy really brings a wave of good energy, and we can just be more generously, emotionally and in other ways as well, allowing for us to deeply transform how we give and receive love, letting our heart go all in, but with wisdom and care, don't just, forget red flags and stuff like that, but also on the other hand, be open to love and especially self-love, right? Because we've got a lot of Venus energy allowing us to do so. So this is the time to face old patterns of attachment and transform them into a deeper, more authentic connections on the karmic level, starting a new adventure in love, intimacy and self-discovery. If you are in a relationship, it's about travelling together, but each with your own secret longing and supporting each other's goals and being curious and exploring new ways of expressing emotions, right? And as I said, karmically, it's about a karmic lesson in trust, surrender and the power of emotional honesty. It's a time to face old patterns of attachment and transform them into a deeper, more authentic connection. In terms of past life dreams and visions, we can have dreams of intense love affairs, betrayals or moments of deep loyalty from other lifetimes. These visions can reveal where your souls seek healing and where you're ready to love more bravely in this life. Collectively, when Venus enters Scorpio, society's focus can turn to, the things we don't talk about, and we can be talking about them more, shared resources and the mysteries of intimacy. There can be more conversations about trust, power and the value of emotional depth socially, spiritually. It supports shadow work, tantric practices and exploring the mysteries of the heart. It's time to deepen your spiritual bonds and be open to the transformative power of love, especially self-love, right? We're invited to confront our fears around intimacy and let go of emotional baggage in terms of personal development and develop more resilience, right? Personal growth can come from daring to love deeply and honestly. In terms of our career and emotional development, it's a good time to invest in long-term goals and deepen our expertise, right? Esoterically, when Venus is in Scorpio, it's the archetype of the alchemist, turning pain into passion and wounds into wisdom. Esoterically, it's about merging with the divine through the depths of human experience. Psychologically, Jungian themes of shadow integration, projection and the search for wholeness are put under the spotlight, right? Unconscious patterns around trust, jealousy and desires come up for healing and transformation. So ultimately, today is a blend, a mix, right, of passion, luck and stability, and we can benefit by celebrating abundance, building lasting connections, exploring emotional depth, which is like what this week really wants us to do, being honest about our desires and saving our blessings and committing to what truly matters to you. It supports making transformative love and wise choices and growing on the soul higher consciousness level, deepening our intimacy and loyalty. Some of you may experience good luck in love and money, strengthening our commitments and making wise investments of our money and time. Emotional healing can come from being open to change, right? But we just need to watch out for overindulgence or unrealistic expectations, jealousy or possessiveness, fear of loss and vulnerability. This energy can add to the power struggles in relationships, right? So, the best use of this energy is to commit into long-term goals and relationships, practicing self-acceptance, forgiveness and love and shadow work. And, in terms of the Jungian shadow prompt for today, you can ask, where do you fear losing control in love or money, and how may being open to vulnerability today lead to a deeper trust and transformation? To integrate this energy, practice guided meditation on trust and letting go. Write down one fear about intimacy, explore its roots and how you can transform it. Share heartfelt, deep truths with someone you trust and listen to them deeply in return. On the 27th of November, the moon void of course starts at 3:13 a.m. The moon enters Aquarius at 8:38 a.m. Mars' parallel to Pluto is exact at 3:30. Mars' semi-square to Pluto is exact at 4:11, and this energy lasts us for a couple of days. And Mars is in Scorpio and Pluto is in Capricorn. Mars enters out of bounds at 9:48 as well. So today is about unleashing our inner rebel and, powerful changes. So when the moon enters Aquarius, it adds to the innovation and independence and the desire for fresh and new perspectives and beliefs this week, but negatively it can add to the emotional detachment and unpredictability in moods. The best use is to connect with friends, brainstorm or try something new and unconventional that breaks conforming and tradition right. When Mars enters out of bounds, it unleashes boldness, courage and the drive to break free from limits, but negatively it can trigger impulsiveness, recklessness and rebellious outbursts. The best use of this energy is to channel your energy into creative risk and authentic self-expression. Mars is semi-square to Pluto, helps us to confront our hidden fears and assert our strength and our boundaries, but it can add to the frustration and anger that comes up this week, as well as the clashes with authority. The best use of this energy, is to face challenges head on and practice restraint and self-awareness. It's a day to really, make courageous and be brave and going beyond your usual limits, but with wisdom. Don't be too crazy, but also, get outside of your comfort zone and don't avoid things as well. Allowing ourselves to go beyond the old, and being open to creative breakthroughs, and to keep our inner fire burning and connect with our authentic selves. Being open to, transformative, visionary thinking and facing power struggles head on with integrity. Being open to who you are, on the soul level, daring to be different. Channeling intensity into positive change, allowing yourself to, take calculated risks, practice self-awareness, especially in relationships, but just watch out for impulsive and reckless actions, and excessive thinking and behaviour. Really be focused and determined as we go towards the end of the week. Be open to visionary or unconventional people. Allow yourself to make those important breakthroughs in your personal growth and creative projects, and be open to the increased confidence. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask yourself, where do you fear your own power or rebel against authority unnecessary, and how may being open to your own inner strength today help you transform old patterns. In terms of integrating this energy, try a new activity that pushes your comfort zone. Reflect on power struggles. How can you respond with integrity and connect with a friend or group who inspires your individuality, right? So on the 28th of November, the Sun makes a contra-parallel to Jupiter. This is exact at 3:31, and I've talked about this already because it's one of the main aspects affecting us this week. Saturn goes direct out of retrograde. It went in retrograde about May or something from memory, and the Moon enters its first quarter moon phase at 6:59. So today is a day of steady progress and growth and a turning point. Saturn going direct brings a sense of relief and renewed momentum, so we can make progress after, some of you may experience long periods of delays or reflection. Negatively, this can feel heavy as responsibilities and reality come back into sharp focus. The best use of this energy is to set clear intentions, recommit to your goals and take practical steps forward, right? The first quarter moon adds to the motivation, courage and the drive to overcome obstacles this week, but it can also add to the tension and impatience, especially, once again, if progress feels slow. So a lot of aspects is, making us want to rush. We got that Mars energy, that Sun and Pluto energy, but we have to try and take, and not so much a lot of Saturn energy this week, right? So we have to just try and be disciplined, don't give up. If you fail, keep on trying. That's how we reach our destination, right? Take decisive action, push through resistance and trust your instincts, right? And Saturn going direct today reminds us it's about steady progress, one step at a time, right? Balancing big dreams with practical action, setting clear goals, taking bold steps and trusting that steady effort leads to real growth. And we'll really, the planets today, the energies supporting progress, confidence and renewed commitment, right? Allowing us to, balance discipline with motivation and optimism, right? So again, it can help us make progress on long-term goals, adds to us feeling really renewed on the motivational level and having more clarity of our purpose, adds to us being able to be confident and optimistic about our self-expression, giving us the ability to overcome obstacles with determination. But negatively, we can feel weighed down by responsibilities, and there can be a tension between being cautious, right, being careful and taking risks, and we just need to watch out for overcommitting or taking on too much. So the best use of today's energy is to set or review your goals, make a practical plan, take decisive action towards something important, celebrate small wins and acknowledge your growth, and balance ambition with patience and self-disciplined, right? In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask, where do you hold yourself back from taking action out of fear of failure, and how may being open to steady progress today help you build confidence and resilience? To integrate this energy, write down one long-term goal and list 3 practical steps you can take today. Practice a grounded meditation to center yourself before making decisions. Celebrate a recent achievement, no matter how small. Acknowledge your progress, right? On the 29th of November, the moon void of course starts. The moon enters Pisces and Mercury goes direct out of retrograde, right? So the theme of today is clarity after the fog. So the moon entering Pisces increases our intuition and empathy and creative imagination, perfect for dreaming big or connecting spiritually. But negatively, all Pisces energy, because it's ruled by Neptune, can make us overindulge in drugs and alcohol and toxic relationships. It can blur our boundaries, making us more prone to confusion, making the wrong decisions, ignoring red flags and just feeling overwhelmed on the psychological, emotional and spiritual level. The best use of this energy is to spend time in creative plans, meditate or offer compassion to yourself and others. Mercury going direct brings mental clarity, smoother communication and gives us the green light for plans that stall during retrograde. Negatively, the change can feel jarring, misunderstandings or tech hiccups can linger as Mercury picks up speed. The best use of this energy is to revisit decisions, clarify intentions and move forward with renewed confidence, right? It's about moving forward as we close down the week with clear intentions and a softer heart, right? Trusting your intuition and letting go of old worries, allowing yourself to have a reset on the emotional, mental, spiritual levels, right? Following that inner guidance, letting go of confusion, being open to inspiration and communicating with honesty. Today's energy really supports emotional healing and creative breakthroughs and going forward in our lives, giving us the ability for clearer thinking and improved communication as we close down this week, being open to creative flow and releasing the things we need to release, and giving us the motivation to start new things or act on our old plans, right? But negatively, we can have difficulty focus as the moon goes into void of course and then goes into Pisces, right? And there can just be leftover misunderstandings from what happened during the time when Mercury was retrograde, right? Best use of this energy is to clarify your intentions, communicate openly, spend time in creative or spiritual practices, let go of old worries and trust your instincts, take gentle steps forward. There's no need to rush. In terms of your Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask yourself, where do you cling to confusion or avoid clarity out of fear, and how may being open to honesty today help you move forward with confidence. And in terms of integrating today's energy, you can meditate for 10 minutes, focus on your breath and letting thoughts settle. Write down one area where you now feel clear and take a small action towards that area to make it better, to improve it. Practice compassionate listening in conversation, allowing intuition to guide your response. So ultimately this week invites us to step out of the mental fog, be open more to self-love and repairing things in relationships, trusting our intuition and moving forwards with our life with renewed clarity. So I'm Amani, your holistic astrological life coach. That's the end of this very in-depth explanation of the weekly scopes from the 23rd to the 29th of November. Take care and see you next time.